The neon light on the ceiling hummed faintly, adding a dull tension to the moment. My fingers trembled slightly as they brushed against the folder. 15 years. 15 years of giving my days and nights to Nexatech, and it all came crashing down with a well-rehearsed phrase. Marianne crossed her arms, her cold smile betraying a perverse pleasure. Elodie, on the other hand, avoided my gaze, nervously fiddling with her pen. I knew what was in that file. A clean break, neatly disguised as an opportunity. We've made sure to prepare a generous severance package, Elodie continued, her soft voice contrasting with the brutality of the moment. I glanced at the wall clock. 0:07. My brain, on autopilot, noted the exact time when my life had just turned upside down. A bitter laugh rose in my throat. They had planned everything, down to the smallest detail. I looked up at Marianne. How long have you known? Her silence confirmed my suspicions. 4 months. Maybe even years. I signed without a word. Not because I accepted it, but because I refused to give them the satisfaction of my anger. A heavy silence settled. Marianne and Elodie exchanged a brief glance, surprised by my lack of reaction. I could almost hear their thoughts. Why isn't he asking questions? Why isn't he protesting? I fixed my gaze on the wall clock. 0:35. An insignificant hour, yet it would be etched in my mind. The exact moment when I stopped being a part of Nexatech. 15 years of analysis, innovation, sleepless nights spent refining algorithms, reduced to a handful of impersonal documents. We hope you understand that this decision in no way reflects the quality of your work, Elodie continued, her tone feigning empathy. A dry laugh rose in my throat, but I suppressed it. Of course it does. Not my work, no. More like the idea that in this well-oiled machine, no one is indispensable. I closed the folder and placed it calmly on the table. Is that all? Marianne nodded, relieved. We're giving you time to collect your things. Take what you need. I stood up, slowly. 0:35. In a few minutes, I would be a stranger in these hallways I knew so well. But an unexpected thought sprang to mind. What if this was a release? I pushed the door open without a glance back. It was time to see what the world had in store for me after Nexatech. I nodded impassively. Friday. 3 days to pack up 15 years of my life into anonymous boxes. 3 days to erase all traces of my time at this company. Elodie, visibly uncomfortable, attempted a sympathetic smile. If you need help with the transition, we can arrange support. I raised a hand to stop her. That won't be necessary. I had no intention of prolonging this charade. I had already accepted the inevitable. My future no longer lay within these walls. The clock read 1:04. A time without meaning, yet it would mark a turning point. I stood up, picking up the folder slowly. The steady tick-tock of the clock matched my breathing. With each passing second, my old life faded a little more. As I reached the door, I turned around one last time. You know, I said, looking at them one by one, I'm not the one losing today. Marianne subtly furrowed her brows. Without waiting for a response, I walked out. The air in the hallway felt lighter, almost new. It was time to rewrite my story. Marianne shook her head, satisfied. No, that's all. Thank you for your professionalism. I held back a smile. Professionalism. a word they wielded when they wanted to avoid acknowledging the injustice of a situation. I took my time buttoning my blazer, adjusting my watch. An uncomfortable silence settled, Elodie fiddling with her pen while Marianne stared at her computer screen, as though I had already ceased to exist. "If you have any questions," Elodie attempted, but I ignored her. I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. Every step echoed differently, as if the walls themselves had changed. My office was just a few meters away, a space I had shaped, a refuge that had suddenly become ephemeral. Through the glass, I saw my engineers, absorbed in their screens. They didn't know yet. In a few hours, they'd receive a cold, impersonal email informing them of my departure. One of them would probably look up at my empty office, searching for an explanation. I placed my hand on the doorknob and took a deep breath. This office, these files, this badge, it all belonged to the past. But what I had built, what I had passed on, they couldn't take that from me. I pushed open the door and walked in, ready to say goodbye to this chapter of my life. Victor Langlois didn't see me pass. He was too absorbed in his financial projections, his face tense with the urgency of always more ambitious results. His world was made of upward curves and optimized balances, not faces or individual stories. I continued on my path, crossing the open space where my team was still working, unaware of the blow that was about to fall. Thomas waved at me without lifting his eyes from his screen. Alice was furiously typing on her keyboard, and Malik was laughing at a joke Emma had just whispered in his ear. An ordinary scene. A scene to which I no longer belonged. I gently closed my office door. My gaze swept across the familiar space, the technical books stacked on the shelf, the photo frame of my son with his diploma, the potted plant Emma had once left on my desk with a note saying, "You forget to breathe too often." A sigh escaped me. It was tempting to give in to nostalgia, but I didn't have that luxury. I opened my drawer and pulled out a USB drive. Since that lost email, I had anticipated this. Some files were already secured. Not out of revenge, no. But because I had built too much here to leave it in the hands of those who saw it only as a line on an Excel sheet. I still had some time before being officially erased. I might as well use it wisely. A discreet smile tugged at my lips. I put my phone down and cast one last glance at my computer screen. The Phenosphere interface was open, displaying in real time the secure transactions of the large companies that trusted us. My algorithm was running in the background, analyzing thousands of financial flows with a precision Nexitech would continue to exploit, without me. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't leaving empty-handed. Those 15 years of expertise, innovation, and sacrifices wouldn't vanish into oblivion. I had taken precautions, secured my back. The USB drive contained much more than work backups. It held the very essence of my research, the foundations of a future project. I took a deep breath and stood up. The time for resignation was over. Now was the time for action. The dinner tonight wasn't just a polite exchange. It was the first step towards something new. An opportunity to build differently, with people who recognized my worth and wouldn't erase me at the first strategic turn. As I grabbed my coat, I took one last look at my desk. A space I had occupied too long under the shadow of others' ambitions. Friday, I would leave Nexitech. But Monday, a new chapter would begin. And this time, my name would be at the forefront. I opened the bottom drawer of my desk and pulled out a cardboard box. No family photos to take down, no plants to bring home. Just a few notebooks, a wooden figurine a colleague had given me years ago, and my favorite pen. The essentials fit in a few objects, but the important stuff was elsewhere. I took the time to erase my traces, to clear the personal files from my work computer, to delete unnecessary shortcuts. Not that there was much to exploit. I had always been careful to compartmentalize my work. Nexitech would keep its product, but what came next was entirely mine. The hum of the office reached me faintly. Some might already know, others would find out soon. I wasn't one to make waves, yet my departure would echo longer than they imagined. I closed the box and set it on the table. My phone buzzed again. 8 p.m. at Lucian's. Let's celebrate. I smiled. Yes, Monday would be fascinating. But before that, there were still a few goodbyes to be made. In the following days, Nexitech's collapse deepened. Investors lost confidence, clients sought alternatives, and the most talented employees discreetly sent their resumes elsewhere. From the outside, the downfall seemed sudden, but for those watching closely, it was the inevitable result of misplaced arrogance. Without my algorithm, their product was an empty shell, an engine without fuel. At my new office at Precision Dynamics, the contrast was striking. My office was spacious, bathed in natural light, with an unobstructed view of the city. I was welcomed with respect and enthusiasm. Here, my expertise wasn't just recognized, it was celebrated. The research team was already buzzing, eager to work on the improvements I had always wanted to make to my algorithm. But that Nexitech had systematically refused, deeming them too costly or not a priority. We've already received 5 demonstration requests from Nexitech's biggest clients, announced Vanessa, the head of sales, entering my office with a satisfied smile. And what did they say? I asked, raising an eyebrow. They all want to meet with us this week. Some are already considering a transition, others want to know what guarantees we offer. But overall, they're curious, very curious. I nodded. Everything was going as planned. Nexitech had taken its clients for granted, selling them an illusion of stability. But in business, nothing was more unstable than a company built on technology it didn't control the foundations of. Meanwhile, Victor Langlois was not staying idle. He urgently convened a meeting with the shareholders and increased his press appearances to minimize the impact of my departure. During a televised interview, he confidently stated, "We anticipated this situation and already have a team dedicated to rebuilding our algorithm. Nexitech remains a leader in its field and continues to innovate." Miguel, who was watching the interview live, sent me a message with a laughing emoji. They just posted a job opening for a machine learning expert with 10 years of experience in optimizing financial algorithms. I wonder why. I smiled. They were desperately trying to fill the void I had left. But expertise wasn't something you could buy with a few clicks on a recruitment platform. And most of all, it couldn't be duplicated at will. The following Thursday, Precision Dynamics held a press conference to officially present its new project. An improved version of my algorithm, with enhanced performance and unprecedented flexibility. The journalists were eager for details, some even asking incisive questions about my departure from Nexitech and its repercussions for my former employer. Let's just say that innovation can only thrive where it is valued, I replied with an enigmatic smile. Precision Dynamics gives us the means to go further, faster. It was a subtle statement, but heavy with meaning. The very next day, Precision Dynamics stock skyrocketed, while Nexitech's continued to plummet. The following Monday, An unexpected message appeared in my inbox. From Victor Langlois. Subject: possible discussion? Hello. I would like to arrange a confidential exchange to explore any potentially mutually beneficial opportunities. Would you be available for a discussion this week? Best regards. Victor Langlois, CEO, Nexatech. I stood still for a moment, rereading the message. The man who had ruthlessly dismissed me weeks ago was now trying to negotiate. Maybe he hoped to buy my patent, or even convince me to return. But it was too late for that. I forwarded the email to my legal team with a simple note. Respond politely, but refuse. The story of Nexatech and me was over. It was time to build something new. Something that reflected who I was. And this time, I was writing my own future.